I've been building my fantasy world called Tumiun for over 10 years now, and I've always hated how boring my elves were, so I decided to reimagine them. In this video I will be sharing with you how I changed them from this to this. I had a very good reason not to like my elves. There was barely a single original thing about them. They were immortal humanoids with pointy ears who lived in an ancient forest. Their wisdom was unending, their beauty unrivaled. Originally, I only included them because my world started as the setting for my D&D games, and some of my players wanted to play as elves. But this made it so they never felt like my contribution to the world of Tumiun, more like something that was forced in there. A few years ago, I realized that it was time for a change. What I was looking for didn't need to be radically different from the classical elves we all know and love from works like The Lord of the Rings, because I really like those elves. But I did want to give them a fun, unique twist, something that would make them feel like my creation instead of someone else's. I needed them to feel fresh on the three aspects that are most important to me when it comes to elves: their immortality, their design, and their connection to the forest. So I started thinking of ways to make their immortality feel more interesting, because while I've always liked the idea of it, I did feel like there was some untapped potential to do so much more with it. I especially wanted it to feel more balanced. Like living forever should come at a cost, a heavy one. It should feel like a burden at times. Secondly, I needed their design to be something that would be instantly recognizable as an elf from Tumiun. If you saw an illustration of them, for instance, you should immediately be able to recognize them as a creation from my world instead of any other fantasy world. And I wanted their appearance to feel fun and versatile, like a character designer could draw one of them every single day for weeks without getting bored. Thirdly, the forest. I tried imagining creatures that were as much part of the woods as they were humanoid. A people that are so unequivocally connected to the place they call home that you literally could not have one without the other. They would be my love of trees incarnate, a tribute to the inspiration I feel when wandering the woods. But then came the time to actually come up with something, and it took me quite a while to do so. When I made the Introduction to Tumiun video 2 years ago, I even sort of avoided talking about the elves at all, because they were still a work in progress. But the seeds had been planted, and now it was just a matter of finding the right inspiration to make them grow. This is how I like to do most of my world building. I identify things that I need to come up with, and instead of sitting down and forcing myself to create something right then, I'll add it to a sort of mental quest log. I'll keep it in the back of my mind until the right inspiration comes along to make everything click. In the case of my elves, that inspiration came a little over a year ago when I was playing The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I don't have a lot of time to play games, and when I do, I sometimes even feel guilty because I could be creating something instead. But this goes to show that getting inspiration in is just as important as getting it out. The moment it all clicked for me was when Beedle, the strangely omnipresent merchant with all of his wares stuffed in a huge backpack, appeared on the horizon. I instantly recognized him because of his amazing character design and very distinct silhouette. I remember putting down my Switch in that moment and running to get a sketchbook because things were all starting to fall into place. This is the rough sketch I made, and it checked all three boxes. An original, very recognizable design, with a literal connection to the forest, carrying on their back the key to their immortality. After that sketch, I started writing stories about them, about how they came to be and their ways of life, and I created a whole host of artworks, most of which are available as high-quality prints on my website, by the way, rickscreations.com. The flow of inspiration didn't stop, and I am now finally at a point where I feel totally comfortable telling you all about my world's version of elves. Just so you know, from this moment on, I will no longer be calling them elves, for that is not what they are. They are the Aiuo, the Woodsfolk, the inhabitants of the long forest, a mystical place which births them, and at the same time they are its creators, its founders and its wardens. Out of the forest they are born, and in death they return to it, expanding it, joining its roots in a second life among the trees. They are the—
Now, friend, you're butchering our story.
Hello? Who's there? Where are you?
You're sitting on me, young one.
Oh my god. You're one of them? How?
Indeed I am. Therefore I might be better suited to tell this story, don't you agree?
Yeah, I guess. Please, go ahead. But—
The long forest stretches from the rugged north of Archean to its clement south. In its vastness, hidden amongst the ancient trees, we reside. We are the Aiuo, the Woodsfolk. but we are not mere dwellers in this place. We are the forest itself. We and the woods are one, and this is our tale. Our kind began long ago, in a place where the heart of our long forest now lies. Countless generations ago, after a cataclysmic awakening of the Mountain of Ash, flames consumed much of our continent. Our ancestors, the ones who came before, were all but wiped out by the burning wave. Only 2 survived, 2 lovers. Fleeing from the destruction, they came upon a great hill, standing untouched amidst a sea of molten rock. Climbing it in haste, they found there a lone tree, ancient and of unfamiliar kind. The 2 climbed its white trunk, seeking refuge in the shadows of its cool dark canopy. There they rested and hoped that the flames would not reach them. Night came and passed, and when they awoke high in the tree, they peered between the green lush leaves and saw a ruined land. The fire had died down, but the once lush forest was covered by a blanket of black rock. The 2 lovers climbed down and held each other. They wept, for they knew their kind had come to an end. There was no hope for them of rebuilding. As much as they had longed to have children, fate had not allowed it. But where their tears fell upon the remaining grass, silver streams sprang from the ground. The tree was weeping along with them, for it knew that it would not ever see its forest green again. Yet, as the lovers quenched their thirst, hope seemed to blossom again in their hearts. They thanked the tree and began to sing, to the tree and to each other, all 3 of them bound to the same hopeless fate, one they hoped to break. They sang of dreams of life to come, and the dry wind in the leaves seemed to sing along. Many days and nights they sang their throats dry, and through their song the souls of the lovers flowed into the heart of the tree, and above their dancing heads white flowers appeared. The lovers tended the flowers for many months, continuing to sing their song to them as they grew ever larger. And in late summer, when the time was ripe, the first of the great flowers fluttered to the ground like a feather on the wind, opening its petals where it fell softly upon the grass. As they stooped to see what wonders the flower hid, the 2 lovers found there in the soft warmth of that blossom, in a bath of golden sap, a new life just beginning. Born of the soul in the heart of the tree and the soul in the song of the 2, the first of my people awoke. So the song is sung. The parents, as the 2 lovers were henceforth known, nourished the small newborn with the silver stream's water, for that enchanted drink sates hunger just as well as it quenches thirst. They soon noticed that this was no ordinary child, for from its back there sprouted a green shoot, as the young sapling of a tree, and its brow was as soft green moss, and hair as white cotton. Soon after, more of the white flowers we call uye fell, and the joy of the parents grew as each blossom gifted them another dream come true. Ia-yo-o-o-o, the first 5 we named them, and as they grew, so too did their Aiuo, the saplings they carried on their backs. Many years passed, and slowly their island of green in a sea of grey expanded, the grasses returning to the barren land. The 5 wandered far, seeing much and returning home to add new words to the song of our people. And in time the words of the 5 turned to wishes also, as they themselves began to yearn for a line of legacy. But their song alone was not enough to make new uye bloom. Ea, the elder tree, required an offering. On that winter day, the mother, who had always had a love for all things that grow, started a ritual that would allow our people to spread across Archean, and in time, the whole of Tumiun. From the Aiuo upon their backs, their mother cut a strong branch, and she grafted these shoots onto the bud springs of their children. The silver scars on the elder tree, where the blossoms that once birthed them had sprouted. Gently she wrapped the delicate grafts with locks of their hair, soaked in warm wax. When spring came, their offerings had joined with Ea, and white buds unfurled on the new branches. And since all bud springs had room for more than just one graft, our kind began to grow. 5 welcomed 10 more, 10 welcomed 20 more. With each new summer, the parents' hearts grew fuller. Their lives were happy and long, as are the lives of all who drink of the white water of Ea. But in time even the longest paths lead to an end. When the lives of the parents came to a close, they were laid to rest amidst the roots of their tree by the hands of their children and their children's children. As their bodies joined with the earth, the roots of Ea embraced them, and 3 souls became one. So the song is sung. The first 5 aged much slower than the parents had, but as they grew older, so too did the burden on their back. The mother had taught them the art of Oi, pruning and shaping an Aiuo to keep it small, to prolong the time we are able to walk unburdened. But in time their load became too heavy to bear, and though their faces were not yet wrinkled, their wandering days were over. On the slopes of Ea's hill they found their Aiuo, their final resting place. But for us Woodsfolk, the end of one life is but the start of a new one. For with our final breath, our soul, our essence, passes from our body to our Aiuo. Through our leaves we breathe in the sunlight as our old figures join with the earth, feeding our roots as they dig ever deeper. Thus the 5 joined with Ea. 5 more joining the one. And so our forests started to grow, generations upon generations blossoming to life, taking root in death, as the boughs of Ea grew, branching out in the patterns of our ancestry. And as the years passed, we found a way to bud flowers of our own, without the need of Ea. In the way we graft a part of our Aiuo onto Ea to create new life, the same turned out to be possible by grafting our branch onto the Aiuo of another. Much like the process of grafting a branch onto Ea, the ritual starts near the end of autumn. A cut is made on the Aiuo of one of the parents, and a strong branch from the other is grafted in place. A ceremonial hair wrapping from both of the parents is applied, and as winter comes, the pair sings to the graft in hopes of it taking hold. If at the dawn of spring a delicate white bud appears, they know that life will soon blossom. Petals as soft silk unfurl as the flower steadily grows, the life within taking shape, their fate as of yet unwritten. In summer, the Uye hang heavy on the backs of their parents, and when they are nearly full grown, the warm wind carries their sweet scent throughout all reaches of our forest. As autumn approaches once more, the Uye let go of their parents' Aiuo, severing the most sacred bond life can ever know, and at that same moment beginning the most wondrous journey an Aiuo could ever embark on. Ah, their smell when the gold of the sap they slept in is still upon their hair. It is as sweet as sunlight upon the petals of 1,000 Uye in bloom. When 2 lovers who have joined their Aiuo together in life choose to do the same in death, by finding their final resting place together so that their roots may intertwine and their trees become one, they become Aiuo, twain trees, and between their entwined roots, tiny springs of Ea's white water burst forth. The twain trees become as minor reflections of Ea, creating a hub for new families to call home, with bud springs of their own where their children may create new life for themselves. As the decades waned and our forest expanded, we perfected the art of pruning our Aiuo, extending the time we wander this earth as much as possible before the burden becomes too heavy. Owing to the white water of Ea and the mingling of our Aiuo sap in our blood, we Aiuo can live half a millennium before we even start to wrinkle. But with our old age came a new problem. We started to outlive our memories. Well nigh no one in this world is able to remember things clearly for longer than 200 years at the most. The mists of time surround all peoples as they walk down the path of life, and in time we Aiuo wander far, eventually losing sight of the place we started from. To cope with losing our memories, the early Aiuo started a new ritual to conserve the memories most dear to them. We call them Oiuauau, life marks, tattoos that capture in them the essence of a memory. It is an art we practice from a young age, striving to perfect it before our first memories start to fade. And though the small markings fade into cloudy lines after only a few short decades, we often rework them, and the ink still holds its power regardless. Of course, we are not the only people in Tumiun who make art to capture memories, but where the humans might paint and the delvers may work their gems, we carry our memories with us always, our skin as our canvas. We need but glide our finger across the marks to see glimpses of the past, but we will never see them as clear again as they once were in the eyes of our mind when the memories were still young. When our wonder days are ended and our Aiuo takes root, we carry those precious memories with us still. Our markings may even show up on our bark as faint wrinkles or lines, visible only to those who know how to see. And within our wood, our soul lives on in a garden of our dearest moments. The tradition of Oiuauau is so old that it predates even the first of the other kin, who traveled far and found new homes where other types of trees grew, whose shapes and branches spoke to their souls in a way they could not forget. They were the ones who found that Ea accepted grafts of all kinds, even of the evergreens of the north and the redwoods of the coast. For Ea seems to be of primordial kind, an ancestor of all trees. Some outside of our forest have theorized that Ea is one of the oldest children of the Allfather, the first tree whose roots spread deep under Tumiun. Once these foreign grafts had become part of Ea, those curious Aiuo grafted the offering of their Aiuo onto the new branches. In that way the first otherkin were conceived, and they carried on their backs strange Aiuo in shapes not seen before. Some of them found love, creating twain trees of their own in those faraway places, establishing new groves away from the long forest. Though in time, as our woodlands spread to almost all corners of Archean, their borders met and mingled, becoming, as all things in our forest do, part of one whole. So the song is sung. And when summer comes, almost all who can still make the journey return to that fated hill in the heart of our wood, to witness the Uye in bloom and join in the singing, picking Ea's leaves and placing them behind their ears as we have done since our kind began. They wander to that place where all routes lead, through a maze of ancient woven trees, the oldest of our kind. But of course not all of the trees in the long forest are rooted Aiuo, leastwise not outside of the forest's heart. The wind carried seeds, the rivers scattered them along their banks, but it is often easy to know when you do come upon one of us, even after our roots have hidden our former figures, for our shapes are unlike any other, sculpted by the years of our wandering days. Sometimes, after we pass on, our Aiuo even topples over, but in time our branches always find the sun. And when the seasons turn, our leaves are the last to fade to gold in autumn, and the first to return in spring. But even the trees we did not carry on our backs are now ages old, our history ancient. When Wilbur of the West came here 1,000 years ago on his mighty ship, our forest had already covered this continent from north to south for many generations. The coming of the brief-lived is a long tale in and of itself, one of friendships and new beginnings, but also of some of the darkest times in the history of our forest. It is, I am afraid, a tale for another time. But their arrival expanded our horizon once again, and some chose to sail the seas to walk in strange forests in far lands. A handful of them even settled there, in places where the roots of Ea might never reach. But in their old age, many of even the most adventurous Woodsfolk returned to the long forest, to find their Iauio, their resting place amongst their ancestors, a place where they may take root in familiar ground to rest eternally, growing tall and strong amidst the forest, guided and guarded by the ones who came before them and found places of their own there. To some, finding an Iauio takes up much of the final chapter of their life, while others may have known it their entire lives. But the day comes for all of us when we set out on our last march, our final journey before our wandering days are over, to slowly make our way toward that one perfect hilltop with the excellent view, or to that roaring river you've remembered since it was but a babbling brook, or beside the rooted Aiuo of a partner, a parent, or a friend. And there we will rest, for an eternity if fate allows, and in time our roots grow deep, connecting once again with Ea, feeling the warm embrace of the parents, and joining all the others who have taken root, all becoming part of the one. And so the rooted will remain, sharing with each other our dearest memories in an endless dream, while the ages roll away under our leaves. So the song is sung. We are the children of Ea. We carry the burden of eternity upon our backs, and though it is a heavy one, we carry it gladly. As we return to the soil and our Aiuo stretches skyward, we are never truly gone. For our song continues through the leaves and the roots that bind us all.
Oh. Wow. I don't know what to say. Thank you for that. I actually didn't know you guys could still talk after becoming, well, a tree.
Was I talking to you, or was it my memories speaking to you?
I don't know. You tell me. Hello? Mr. Aiuo? Oh well. I had prepared this whole speech about these guys, but it doesn't really get any better than what we just saw. Now that you know all about my version of elves, I'd love to hear down in the comments what you came up with for the elves in your world, if you even included them at all. Maybe you gave them some fun, interesting twists, or maybe you've come to realize, just like I did, that there are things in your world that aren't the way you want them to be. If that's the case, I say take them back to the drawing board. Identify the key aspects that you really think are important, and then look for the right inspiration to make them feel more unique, more fun, more you. You may have noticed that my version of elves are basically still all of the unoriginal things that I listed at the start of this video. Instead of pointy ears, they have pointy leaves behind their ears. They live in an ancient forest, their wisdom is unending, their beauty unrivaled, to some at least, and they're basically immortal. Of course, these trees they turn into can still die, but not of old age. All of that is true because those are just the things I really love about classical elves, and I wanted to include them, and that's totally fine. At the end of the day, I don't think world building is about being the most original. It's about being intentional, being deliberate with what you create and what you choose to include in a world. Borrow from what moves you and build upon what resonates, but shape it into something undeniably yours. Infuse it with your own voice, your own vision. That way, when others step into your world, they won't just see echoes of the past. They'll find something fresh, something that sparks their own imagination. And perhaps, in turn, they'll take a piece of it and use it to create something newer still. But maybe you disagree with all of that, and I'd love to hear that too. I'd like for all of you to let me know in the comments what you think of this video, what you think of the Woodsfolk. You might even have some great ideas of things to add to them, or maybe you've got some burning questions you'd like me to answer in a future video. I've got so many more things I want to say about these guys. My favorite thing being what happens when an Aiuo cannot let go of his wandering life, searching for his final resting place for far too long, basically becoming a tormented walking tree. But unfortunately, I just didn't have enough illustrations to fill an hour-long video. Speaking of the illustrations, by the way, if you like the look of them and you'd like to support my channel so I can spend more time on it and make more videos for all of you, you can do so by buying a high-quality print of one of my artworks, or a poster-sized map of Tumiun, of course. It would mean the world to me if you had a little piece of Tumiun hanging on the wall. And a huge thank you to everyone who ordered a print in the past. You have no idea how much you've helped me out. I also want to take this moment to thank all of you who have supported me on Patreon, and as a member here on YouTube, which any of you can become for just $1 a month. That's right, $1. You probably wouldn't even miss it, and if just 2% of you who are subscribed right now would click this button and become a member, I could be doing YouTube full-time instead of just 1 or 2 hours a day. And instead of releasing a video every 6 months or so, I could be releasing one every month. I would love nothing more than to be able to make more videos for all of you to enjoy, but I need your help to do that. So please, if you can, help me out. Becoming a YouTube member also gives you access to exclusive polls and sneak peeks. And whenever you comment on one of my videos, this little Tumiun badge shows up next to your name. Now, 2 more things before I end this video. One of which is that I'm working on a very fun video idea, which hopefully shouldn't take as long to finish as the one you just watched, but I am gonna need your help for that. I'm gonna ask you a question and I want to hear all of your answers down in the comments below. The question is, if you met someone from the world of Tumiun right now, someone such as the cartographer, what would you ask them? If you could ask them one question, what would that question be? It would really help me out if you let me know down in the comments below. The most fun questions might just pop up in the next video. Thanks. The last thing I wanted to address in this video is the magic system video I was working on. If you saw my previous video, you'll know that I was struggling with trying to make the concept of my video all about Tumiun's magic system come to life, and I wanted to give you a quick update on that. I've now decided to let go of trying to squeeze all of the information about the magic of Tumiun into one single video. Instead, I will be sneaking little snippets here and there into videos about other things, such as the one you just watched. You may have picked up on some things about art and memories, which form the foundation of Tumiun's magic system. To master the art of magic, one must master the magic of art. Trained artists who have transcended the normal ways of art have found a way to direct the flow of their soul, their inspiration, to capture emotions, memories and more within their works or performances, allowing them to shape and influence the world around them. Future videos will contain more pieces of the puzzle, and by watching those, you'll gradually start to understand more about how the magic system works and what it can do. So if you don't want to miss any of those future videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and consider giving this video a like as well. It helps out much more than you might know. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be seeing you quite soon in the next one. Bye.